Yeah, that's right. You're tuning in to the More For Me and You podcast. That's real interviews, real movie reviews, real people, real journeys. If you real, lock in. I've been working all night, early in the morning. If you hustle high, hustle, you can never waste a moment. That's more for me and you. 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 Let's go.
Great to meet you.
Thank you.
In the flesh.
Good to meet you, man.
It's been about 15 or so months, 16 months that we've been just kind of chatting.
Yeah.
And you've been a big supporter of us, not just as the platform, but also just supporter of other films that we've been releasing and just supporting those other creators that are out there. So it's really a fresh breath of air to have someone like yourself not just be a release on our platform, because we've had a few other filmmakers be released on Momi too, but then to also have you support that community and just be involved in liking and sharing and commenting. Like we all need that, right?
We do.
So thank you for doing that. And thank you for just being that person. If you're listening in and you obviously can't see us, if you're not watching on YouTube, this is Monte Light.
Hello.
Monte Light, the indie filmmaker that is near and dear to my heart. And I cannot wait to make another movie with you. But today is a little bit more about getting to know you.
Okay.
So this kind of part of the podcast, I love to just get to know who's in the other chair across from me, and not just know you for what you're kind of good at today.
Right.
I want to give the guests a little bit of context about who you are. So let's go back in time a little bit, and know little Monte.
Okay. All right.
Where are you from? And then like also growing up, like what kind of person were you? Like what kind of kid were you?
Yeah. So I was born in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Which is, a suburb of Tulsa.
Yeah.
And I'm an only child, and I was very fortunate to be born to two artist parents. Both my parents, they worked as music teachers. My father is a composer and songwriter. He's actually written the music for all of my films.
That I was wondering if that was a brother or what kind of relative.
Yeah, that's my dad. That's my dad, Mac Light. Cool. Yeah. And he has songs as well, the songs that are in the films, in particular Blood Covered Chocolate.
Yeah, he composes them.
He does. Yeah, he wrote that song that's in there. But what's interesting is the first time that I was on a film set I was 5. I actually... my parents were approached by a music video director. I literally had just caught his eye, and he was like interested in my look and everything like that. And they basically asked him if I might be interested in acting in a music video. So that would have been 1989. And so what's interesting is that like my earliest memory that I have is being on a film set.
Yeah.
And, being in front of the camera, and also just becoming aware of the magic behind the magic. So growing up, it was one of those things where from moment one, anytime I would be watching any film and obviously loving any and all films, I always had an eye to how it was constructed. I would just always be thinking about that. And, it was one of those things where basically growing up in Oklahoma, I was, a child actor. I was doing a lot of music videos, local commercials, and I would go out for auditions in Dallas.
Okay. It's kind of the closest major market.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting, some of those early experiences. Like I remember I went to do an audition for a casting agent in Dallas around like 1993. And I was reading for this shy little kid who doesn't want to get on a school bus and doesn't know how to like interact socially with people. And the casting agent really loved my audition. I actually got a callback for that. And like I came in for the callback and made her cry and everything like that. But I ultimately didn't get the part. And my dad, who drove me to all of those, to the audition and the callback and everything, he said something that I'll never forget because he was trying to like buck me up. He was like, don't worry, son. I'm sure nobody will be interested in a film called Forrest Gump. And
Yeah, I've never heard of it. Never heard of it.
and it gets better too, because like fast forward, when I was in college, I went to school for acting, and
Where did you go?
I went to the University of Northern Colorado,
Okay, yeah.
which is actually where my parents went as well. And then my father went on to get a master's at Northwestern University.
Everyone's like, oh, here comes the legacy.
Yeah, right. Nepo baby? I don't know. If
No.
very small sort of way. But what's funny is that like that's my, old anecdote that I tell all the time. And I remember I was telling that first day of acting class, and there was an actress in the class who now actually does off-Broadway and does tours. Like she's still working and everything. Jamie Romero is her name. Hi, Jamie. She was like, "Oh, you went out for an audition for Little Forest?" I was like, "Yeah, Little Jenny." And so it was just like apparently everybody of that generation was auditioning for that film. So it was very interesting. Yeah, and like I had some great, important experiences very, very early on in terms of just the discipline of filmmaking and the conceptual nature of filmmaking.
When would you say like the moment is like when you kind of knew, like you kind of fell in love with filmmaking where, hey, I want to do this for a career, like with my life?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think probably the two major moments for me was I saw Kenneth Branagh's Henry V, which obviously is Shakespeare, and was just floored by the film. And I must have been like, I don't know, 10, something like that. And it was my first time that I became aware of, I was like, oh, so he's acting in this, he's directing this, he's adapting the screenplay. This is all him. This is all his expression.
Yeah.
And he's wearing all of these different hats. And I started to fall in love with that kind of, control, that kind of being able to just explore myself and really put the pieces together in terms of making a film. Because it's, it's very much like being a sculptor or like being an architect or like playing chess with yourself or putting a puzzle together. It's exciting. It's exciting because it can be so maddening in many ways. And, you're kind of almost boxing against yourself. And that for whatever reason, that movie like turned the light on for me. And so around 1999, my parents and I, we moved out of Oklahoma and we moved to Las Vegas, where I went to the Las Vegas Academy of Performing and Visual Arts.
Very cool.
Yeah. And so when I got there, I just met, a bunch of crazy artists, and like some of them I'm still friends with. That's where I met my best friend in the whole world.
How was that transition? Like, I mean,
I mean,
kind of culturally in the sense of like those cities are massively different.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because like, coming from Oklahoma, and I've always been very lucky in the sense that I had the best kind of exposure when I was young. And that's due 100% to the dedication and love of my parents. So like when I was in middle school, I actually went to a private school, not because we had any money, but because my mother taught elementary music at that school. So they gave them a discount. So it was one of those things where I was in that school from grade 3 to like grade 8. And we were studying the classics. Like I took 2 years of Latin and, philosophy and all of that stuff that I was being exposed to. And on the opposite end, also being in school with like one of the kids, I think was like the grandson of Oppenheimer and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember like us being invited out to like a polo game that they were
Yeah,
playing.
like, what's polo?
Yeah. Yeah. But it was one of those things where it's like, you know, being an only child, being not rich and going to, you know, a uniform private school and everything like that. They were always the kids that were destined to be like doctors, you know, have their whole medical school way paid.
Yeah.
And I knew I wasn't
A little bit of privilege.
a little bit. And I knew
Yeah.
that I wasn't going to get any
And
of
by
that.
a little bit, I mean a lot of it.
A lot of it, yeah. And they were very selfish, but they were also didn't know how good they had it.
Yeah, I
But-
think that's the hardest thing. And when people talk about privilege, it's like most people that have it don't realize they have it.
Yeah.
And that really comes down to the parents that are, whether they're teaching them about that privilege or not, or understanding like, hey, this is where I came from and we have this, but I didn't always have this, or whatever it
Yeah.
is. Like, and some families just have it for, you know, crazy generational wealth, and it just is what it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think especially with private schools, that's tough to, almost like makes me think about that show All American.
Mm.
I'm not sure if you caught that one, but
No, I haven't got that one.
you got Spencer James, who comes from like Compton, and he's just like a really, really good football player.
Right.
And he eventually goes and plays in Beverly Hills, and all of his kids have like tons of money and tons
Right.
of privilege and the best everything, right? But he's just really talented. So
Right.
there's just this old dynamic of like, hey, you don't belong here, but like, well, show us you belong here, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
and was there ever a moment like you had to like kind of prove yourself
Yeah.
to them? Like,
I mean, it was just one of those things where it's like I was just beat up. Like it was, it was one of those things where, you're the kid that doesn't come from something.
yeah,
But but I realized that I was like everything that I'm getting right now, even at that age, I knew it's like value this, soak it in as much as you can. You are having an opportunity to be exposed to a wonderful education. So it's like that was my experience leaving Oklahoma. And then, in addition to acting and everything like that, which was like a whole other world. And then coming to Vegas and going to a performing arts high school, I was suddenly thrown into a crowd that was exactly like me.
yeah,
That they also came from a place where they were beat up or ostracized or anything like that. And
kind of felt a little understood.
a little bit. And then on the opposite end, the funny thing is that you are with the crowd. I mean, it's a little bit like Fame, right? Where it's like, as much as you like enjoy being in a crowd that is like you, there are those that were very competitive. They, especially because you're a teenager, right? So you're in this place where it's like, I have to be the best actor, I have to be the best singer, I have to be the best this and that and everything. Because they have this passion, and it's a very young age to sort of know what your passion is. So all of that was just teaching me basically focus and ambition, and also learning a lot about rejection, because it's like, you go out for auditions, you don't get parts.
Yeah,
You're doing
typically
this,
learn a lot more about yourself by not getting a part,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or losing the game or whatever it may be, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like, hey, that's a learning moment,
Yeah.
and really what is the more important part is what's going to be building your character.
Yeah.
Right, your character could go one way or the other.
Yeah.
It could really be sulking and you're like, oh, I didn't get it, or it could be like, hey, I'm going to get the next one,
Yeah.
or whatever, right? So
Yeah. In fact, like the other significant moment for me, this was still in Oklahoma, but it was definitely one of the most surreal experiences of my life. And I think some of its DNA definitely had an impact on something like Bittertooth, even, where I got a job for a made-for-TV movie. This would have been in 1993. called In the Line of Duty, Ambush in Waco. So
That's a mouthful.
it isn't. It is a mouthful. It's one of those classic, like, back in the early '90s made for TV movies that were sort of the rip from the headlines thing.
Okay.
And where literally, I think I actually listened to the commentary on that film later, and apparently they edited that movie in one weekend on a movieola. So it was just like old school days. But basically, it was a dramatization of the David Koresh Waco compound siege by the ATF.
Craig's getting really excited, by the way. He said movieola and he perked up.
Old enough to remember.
Yeah.
Tim Daly.
Yes. So what's interesting is that So let me tell you the Tim Daly story then. So
And
basically,
feel free to interact with Craig.
okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
People can slightly hear his voice in the microphones. We need to get him one.
Well, I'm glad that you got that. Yeah. So Tim Daly, Dan Loria. What's funny is that Jerry Ryan was in that, like right before she was on Star Trek. And what's interesting is I was cast as one of the kids that was in the cult, like it was in the compound. And they built an entire reproduction of the compound that they filmed. And mind you, we were making that, they were shooting that while the siege was still happening. So then there was Tim Daly playing David Koresh, and he was so good. Like, he was there giving these fiery speeches and screaming at the top of his lungs and everything. He was so good, and I was also like, I had to have been 9 or something, that like I just started to break down and cry. Like, it was just, oh my God, you're like just emotionally wrecking me and everything. So the director, quite wisely, like gestured to the camera operator, and he's like, go in for a close-up. So they like came in for a close-up of me just like bawling and everything. And that was great because I got paid more. I was no longer an extra. I was like a featured, right? And basically afterwards, I was still wrecked and everything. And Tim Daly came up to me, and he like got down and he's like shook my hand, and he was basically like, "Man, you're making me look bad. You're doing so great," all that stuff. And I remember like we broke for lunch, and I went out with Dad, and I was like, "Take me home. I can't do this. This is
You're just emotionally
hard,
drained,
man." Yeah. I was like, and Dad said something that I'll never forget, which he was basically like, "Yeah, I can take you home, son. But, you did take this job. And when you take a job, you need to finish it. Do you think you can do that?" And I was like, "Okay, all right, I'll do it." And I'm glad that I did. It was really, really, that was a pivotal moment. And that whole experience was very interesting because they shot a lot of stuff with the kids. They shot a lot of stuff with me, none of it ended up in the film. And the thing, when I was saying like a surreal experience that really affected me, is that I think it was the second day. So we shot for like 2 days, I think. And on the second day that we were filming, we were there in the compound replica, and then everybody just started to hear the chatter, and they're like, "Everybody, come over into the commissary area." So we went in there and we looked up on the TV, and the actual compound was burning. So it was like watching the actual compound burning while standing in a replica of it. That was definitely a moment when I realized, I was like, oh, okay, so film is a very powerful medium. Yeah. It can be a very powerful medium for the people who make it, and it can be a very powerful medium for the people that see it.
The people that watch it, yeah.
Yeah. So, so that also taught me a lot about the power of cults and the power of kind of propaganda. And I mean, I think a lot of that is at play, obviously, in Bittertooth. If you go watch No Me Too. So
Shameless plug.
Absolutely. I love shameless plugs. Watch their whole catalog. But
all 10,000.
That's right. It'll only take you a couple of days, it's fine. But
Get it done in 2025. No big deal.
that's true. Everybody needs a hobby. Yeah. So, I mean, coming to Vegas from there, I was 16 when I made my first short film. And that was the classic do it yourself with your buddies.
Yep.
And the great thing about like Vegas in those days, I don't think it's this way anymore because it's been like 25 years. But back then, you could go anywhere. You could shoot anything.
No permits needed.
Nobody was paying attention. I think the only time that we were ever like accosted by a cop while we were doing guerrilla style stuff, it was like a highway patrol. We were shooting a scene for my very first short film, like right on the highway that goes to Hoover Dam. There was like this little concrete structure that looked like an old temple. And so we were shooting the scene, and my first short film, it's called Paper Anvil. It's somewhere out there in I think Vimeo, which is not Momitu, but
Okay.
it's and it's like 20 minutes long, and it was made by a 16-year-old. And what's funny is that like we made that with the mini DV tapes. You remember those
Crazy.
cameras?
Yeah.
Those old Panasonics or whatever.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that like
Used to get all my soccer matches on those things.
yeah, where they had the setting where you could do like what was it, night vision and all that stuff. Yeah. And what's funny is there were a couple of scenes in the film, and it's still in the film, where the wind in Vegas, because it's the desert and there's no obstructions, it can get very windy. And we were shooting outside. We were shooting outside on a desert lot right outside Wayne Newton's compound, actually. And the wind was so like intense that it actually caused little black lines on the DV tape because it was moving the tape on the spool. And we were just like, whatever. And it was one of those things where it's like we got, our Steadicam was a mop handle. Our dolly was like a furniture dolly, and our boom was a hockey stick. And that's, how we were making movies. And, it was great. It was great because we didn't know or care what the rules were. We were just like watching films and making films. And, I think it was definitely around that time when I was introduced to horror for the first time. And I think the first horror film that I ever saw was Something Wicked This Way Comes with Jonathan Pryce from 1983, I want to say.
I have not seen that.
Yeah. It's based on a Ray Bradbury novel. He wrote the screenplay. Very good film. And it was produced by Disney, interestingly enough, back in their like dark Disney time when like they didn't quite know what to do with their live action division, kind of like now. But they were just sort of doing, anything and everything with just wild abandon.
Little jabs.
I know, right? Well, they did I think they did another film called Watcher in the Woods with Bette Davis around that time. And The Black Hole, I think was that. It's like just really good dark stuff.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that like, just as a factoid, apparently that's the reason that they created Touchstone was because my parents remember distinctly going to the theater to watch Something with Wicked This Way Comes when it first came out, like a year before I was born, right? And the moment that it said a Walt Disney production, people in the audience got up and left because they're like, this isn't going to be hardcore. This isn't going to be,
So they had to shell game it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, play the game, right? And then it was my best friend, to this day, Cooper, isn't his name, Cooper Holmes, who actually is Cooper Holmes. Coop, yep. He's a great screenwriter. Actually, he has a screenwriting credit on Bittertooth as well as Space, my first film. But he showed me Dario Argento's 1977 Suspiria. And that was when I realized how beautiful horror films can be. Because that's basically like watching opera, you know what I mean? The colors and the symbolism and the use of the goblin music and all of that. it just made me start to fall in love with the medium, because I kept wrangling when I was first watching it with how incredible it was to see something so horrific, like a knife going into a heart in close-up, just oozing blood, and yet it could look so gorgeous in that like Technicolor, and Luciano Tovoli's cinematography and everything. And I was just like, okay, all right, I like this. This is cool.
Yeah.
And then
It's like poetry to you. This is like,
it's exactly like poetry. And it's interesting because when I immerse myself, I immerse myself. It's like I live to watch movies. I live to study, filmmakers and the way that they, utilize film grammar, editing, learning every single way, always putting it in the back of my mind to sort of, pick it out later when necessary. Take inspiration from the greats, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I think it was 2003. I was in Vegas now. Cooper and I, we acted as ushers at the Cine Vegas Film Festival, which isn't around anymore. But that, I think, was my first experience with the power of the film festival. And I'll tell you why. It just so happened that that particular film festival was the premiere of George A. Romero's Land of the Dead when he came back, to make zombie films again. And we actually got to see it in the theater. And George A. Romero was there. And I'll never forget, I mean, this is what you do when you're like 16, right? 16 and a film nerd. My buddy Cooper and I, we were like, okay, yeah, so we're going to go see George A. Romero. And he's like, have you seen the zombie films? Have you seen the dead films? And I'm like, I've seen Night of the Living Dead. He's like, oh man, let's stay up all night and watch, which we did.
Just binge watch
it. We watched Night of the Living Dead. We watched Dawn of the Dead. We watched Day of the Dead. We watched The Crazies. And we watched Season of the Witch. All in one night.
That's an epic night. That's a lot of popcorn.
Yeah. And so it's like, it was Land of the Dead playing at that festival. It was Primer when that first came out, which is one of the best like indie sci-fi films ever made. And it was, interestingly enough, Napoleon Dynamite premiered there. Yeah. Which was interesting because that had the biggest line out the door when that came out at that festival, because
I wonder when that... So what year was this?
That was, it was like 2004.
Okay, yeah. So because I remember seeing Napoleon Dynamite at a little indie theater in Santa Cruz.
Oh, nice.
I had gone on a road trip with a buddy of mine, like after my first year, both of our first years in college. We did a little road trip up to Northern California or whatever.
Yeah.
And went to like Folsom and just all over the place. And,
nice.
and we stopped in Santa Cruz to see one of his like, I don't know, friends from college.
Yeah.
Went to UCSD and stopped there, and we went to Pizza My Heart and then went into this like little indie theater, and it was just like $1 to get in to watch a movie.
Oh man, those are the days.
It was great, and I hated it. It was just terrible film. And then it became obviously just crazy epic. Like, and then I watched it in a theater, and I was just like, this movie's so cool. Like, I watched it in a bigger theater with a bigger audience instead of being like little indie theater with like 10 people. And
right,
like,
were you getting that vibe? Yeah, they had a big crowd turnout because Vegas is full of Mormons. Interestingly, fun fact there.
It is.
They had to come out and support. And it was interesting because that was also the festival where they did a retrospective of Eraserhead. It was the first time I ever saw that in the theater, which was quite the privilege. It made no sense to me the first time I saw it. Made no sense. But of course, I wanted to dissect it. And also, rest in peace, David Lynch was there. So it was very interesting to hear him speak, because nothing that he said made sense either. But it was just so fascinating to hear him talk. It was David Lynch, Dennis Hopper, and Dean Stockwell. Unfortunately, none of them are with us anymore. But just the three of them in the room talking about, their experiences, Blue Velvet and everything. And I remember the moderator asked David Lynch at one point, he was just like, why did you think that William Hurt was the best casting choice for Elephant Man? And Lynch's response was incredible. He was basically like, wow, he was the only actor that I knew that had a completely shaved left hand. And I remember Dean Stockwell, who had like a giant stogie in his hand, was just like, what the fuck? Who is this guy? And then like, Lynch like had his whole horde of like, he was always surrounded by like attractive women while he was there. And then he was like leaving so you couldn't go and talk to him. But like nobody was talking to Dean Stockwell. So like Cooper and I spent an hour talking to him, which was quite great. So it's just like, constant exposure over the years of just like very, very, very talented, very dedicated artists.
You knew this was your
My
future.
world.
This was your world. You loved what you did as far as being like learning in the moment.
Yeah.
And just being involved in every aspect of film. I mean, you're talking about multiple aspects of film there.
Yeah.
Not just being just an avid watcher, right? I mean, you're getting deep into the little nuances of what make films tick.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, that was, around that time I was, in addition to starting to direct, and it's interesting too, because I would say that directing was something that happened for me before screenwriting. Mm-hmm. Because Paper Anvil, my first short film that I made, it was loosely inspired by Dante's Divine Comedy, Inferno and all of that. And it was a silent film. I basically wanted to structure it as, a throwback homage to the classic ways of doing it. It was black and white again. And there's one scene in the film that had dialogue, and then everything else we just didn't bother with sound, which was great because we were just going around shooting guerrilla everywhere. So it was purely visual, and it was like, okay, how do we use juxtaposition? How do we, frame things to express this emotion? How do we do symbolism in this film? How do we experiment? How do we do this? How do we do that? And it was amazing. And then later on, sort of attributing actual narrative, like dialogue and everything of that nature, characterization, started to come to me. And I think that for me, probably my biggest inspiration for the screenwriting side of things was Lee Brackett, who she didn't write too many scripts, but they're some of the like best films ever made. She wrote The Big Sleep, the Howard Hawks film with Humphrey Bogart. She wrote the Howard Hawks Western trilogy, El Dorado, Rio Bravo, and Rio Lobo with John Wayne. She wrote the original draft of Empire Strikes Back. And
I believe like two of those John Wayne films, I believe we have on Momi too.
Yeah, Rio Lobo. Rio Lobo, I think, is on there.
I was like, well, some of those sound familiar.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive like classic or Western buff. Like, I'll dabble here and there. But
right.
Yeah.
What's funny is that actually growing up, as much as I absolutely adored horror, I think my other favorite genre was the Western, or is the Western. It's such an interesting genre. Not obviously, like they always say the Western's dead. I don't know what that means, because it's like, look at everything what Taylor Sheridan's doing. It's just like neo-Westerns, it always evolves. No Country for Old Men. I mean, it's basically a Western.
I don't think Westerns are dead. I think it's few and far between the stories we can tell that are relevant to the audiences, because it has to be relevant, right? So, like if it's not marketable,
right? Well, and
really, you're not going to see it unless it's an indie film, it's just a passion project or whatever.
Yeah.
But like as far as like big studio films, like probably not as many Westerns
right
can be made just because it's not as relevant.
Yeah, I can see that. I think actually, what's it called now? V channels, but I think it's Insurgent now.
Insurgents.
Yeah, Insurgents.
Yep.
They also produced a film. I think it's on Momi too. Washerwoman.
Washerwoman. Is it on Momi too? not 100% certain.
Yeah.
I did see the trailer though, because it was sent to me around the same time that your film was sent to me.
Yeah.
And so we didn't. I don't think we didn't choose it on the initial slate, but
Right.
it might be on there now. It is on. It is on. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Good job, Bonnie, with that film. She's great. Yeah, because like that's a Western supernatural film, kind of like what Bone Tomahawk did. Where it's like taking that, mixing it with another sort of medium, and sort of seeing what comes out the other side. And like a lot of those classic Westerns, I mean, we have a tendency to think of the John Ford side of things, which are great, but the big epic, CinemaScope kind of Westerns. But there were a lot of the lower budget ones, the stuff that Sam Fuller was making, or like Blood on the Moon with Robert Mitchum. And what's interesting were Winchester 73, the Jimmy Stewart, Anthony Mann collaborations. Those films are essentially film noir crime plots. They just take place in the West. In fact, actually, one of those films, The Naked Spur, I've always wanted to do a remake of that film, actually, because I think that could be a very interesting crime film, and be taken out of the Western genre and still be just as viable.
Yeah, I mean, it's very apparent that you love film.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that. Like, it's not you as you're very knowledgeable about multiple genres. I feel like we can continue to talk about so much. Like, this can just go super deep, and maybe we just have you back on another episode and just talk more about it.
Talk more about movies.
But getting back to you a little bit, I want to make sure we touch on you as a filmmaker.
Yeah, of course.
And I think looking at the films that you have made that I've seen so far, having a lower budget.
Yeah.
How are you able to kind of balance that side of yourself that, like, hey, I wanted to make, I'm trying to be as creative as possible.
Yeah.
But also understanding, like, hey, I got to work within a budget.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance that? At least, what is your process? Because obviously everyone's different, but
right.
What is that for you?
Well, I think that there are a couple of like sort of gold standards that you have to put up on your wall of what will succeed in the lower budget, micro budget, indie kind of world. So limited locations, limited characters.
Yeah, really anything under $300,000.
Yeah,
at that point.
Exactly. And don't don't make your movie over an hour 30. One, because there's so much money that you can save by not shooting a whole other 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And
whether it be during the shoot or in post.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I've had some filmmaker friends where they're also working like indie low budget, and they report back to me and they're like, oh, my first cut was 3 hours long. And I'm like, how the hell was your first cut 3 hours long? The reason it was 3 hours long was that they had no vision. And so it's like they end up whittling it down, and sometimes they didn't even complete their project. So for me, it's a matter of I keep time and money focused by basically having the film done before it's shot. It's, the old Hitchcock technique where basically I storyboard all of my films. I storyboard every scene of my film. And I have this trick that I love to do where I will, once I have the film cast, I'll have the cast do a recorded table read, either on a Zoom or kind of similar to this, where they sit down, they go through the whole script, and I record it. And then I take that recording and I put it into my editing program with my storyboards to make an animatic. And basically,
very cool.
Yeah, I show that to the cast, to the crew, to everyone from, the key grip to the lead actor. And I'm basically like, this is the movie we're making.
That's super smart.
Yeah. And so that way it's one of those, and like, you've seen the films where it's like there's scenes where, like in the opening of Bittertooth, there's a 2-minute long take, you know what I mean? With all of these different marks and everything. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that it's like, you can't You can't do that on the day without planning. You can't get through that in addition to 10 other scenes because you're having to work within a 9-day schedule unless everybody already knows what they're doing before they show up.
Yeah.
And I also think that it's very important to foster a environment in the film where everybody is a collective. So for me, it's one of those things where I have everything pre-visualized and I invite questions from the get-go. I'm like, email me constantly, ask me anything and everything, throw everything onto the wall. And also when you're working super low budget, one of the places that you can save time and money, in particular money, don't have a costumer. Basically, let the actors provide their own costumes.
Okay.
Except for some important key pieces.
Yeah.
And the reason that I think
like
that's
masks
or something that needs to get bloodied or distressed or something like that. And I think the other reason that that's very, very important is that actors create their characters through their costumes. Mm. And I don't know how many times, we'll get to it in a bit, but like the lead actor that was in Blood Covered Chocolate, he basically created his character from his wardrobe and from what he did with his hair. And that was, all him, I think, except for a couple of A shirts that I provided. And that is, obviously a whole other department that you can't, you don't have to worry about. Beauty makeup, things like that. Let them do their own powder. Just a lot of little things that you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, at least when shooting on a small budget, that's smart.
Small budget, yeah.
And it brings a little ownership to it as well.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt, especially with like Bittertooth, for instance, when you have Autumn Ivy, who's a cosplayer,
right,
loves to obviously accessorize what she is wearing. So
yeah. Well, and what's interesting is that Autumn is a great example of how we not only built her character in Bittertooth through costumes, but we also figured out kind of her visual journey through her costumes as well. So one of the things that I think, and this was 100% her idea, again, this improvisational sort of collective that you foster. She was basically like, because I think initially I had written it in the script where Ivy's character had pink hair, just like actual dyed pink hair. And she's like, well, I'm a redhead with, short hair and everything like that. I have a pink wig. And then she was like, what would be interesting is if Ivy wears a different wig in the whole film. Like she kind of mixes it up. Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's pink. We never see her real hair, i.e. we never see her true self until the end. Yeah. And I was just like,
until my favorite scene.
Yeah, exactly. Where she finally like comes into who she is.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where it's like you what's that expression? You may not have noticed, but your brain did.
Yeah.
And similarly, like
it's almost like she had a mood ring going on.
Exactly. And it says so much about her character visually.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is that like, screenwriting 101, any sort of scene that you go into, you write it where you get to the end as fast as possible. You start it as close to the end as possible. So usually, and this is something that I started to adopt in Blood Covered Chocolate, and we did it on acid in Bittertooth, shooting with multiple cameras.
Yep. If
you have a very brilliant, genius cinematographer, which I've been blessed to have, Neil Tyler, I love you. You can afford that. You can do that, and it saves you a lot of time. So like in Bittertooth, we shot that film with 6 cameras. Sometimes we would have 4 cameras rolling at once. So what's interesting is like you've seen it. There's this kind of, which was intentional. I wanted this sort of cubist kind of montage effect of the way things happen. and the way that it bounces out of like shooting on an iPhone and then shooting on, I think we had 3 Blackmagics and everything. And sometimes we would have one of the camera operators be just there and be like, just play, just see what you want to do with that other camera, and we'll see what we get. And the end result of that was me having to edit through 14 terabytes of footage in 3 months. But it was worth it. It was worth it for that look.
Yeah.
And it was
'Cause that's a creative piece that not many films are able to get.
yeah. And it's not, the subject matter doesn't always warrant it.
Yeah.
But
Because even especially with the iPhones, I think there was a really cool vantage point
yeah.
of as they're like kind of they're live, right? Like,
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
Where you did that.
And have I would say without a doubt on your film, have spectacular camera operators. Even if your cinematographer is your camera operator, I mean, that's great. But I think beyond that, have one person on your camera crew who owns and knows how to use a drone. Because
yeah, you did get some pretty cool drone shots.
yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like you don't want to overplay it. Like I've seen a lot of indie films where it's like they lean far too heavily into the drone because they have a drone.
Yeah.
But sometimes a film needs to break out. If you're always shooting on a particular level, even if you're doing a high angle, you're still keeping it relatively pedestrian. And by the nature of it, it can be a bit claustrophobic, which of course is wonderful for the horror medium. But every so often, you just need an establishing shot. It's a great way to get it. And, it's one of those things where, you take advantage of equipment and assets and resources that even 3 years ago people didn't have. Like I would say that Bittertooth had, because I was also editing all of my own sound, like sound effects and everything. I basically had the advantage of, certain AI programs that you can run dialogue through that can instantly clean it up. I had to clean up all of, the dialogue myself on Blood Covered Chocolate. And then with Bittertooth, it's like I can at least do one pass. And then you go in and you start to like clean up the cleanup. But just having that advantage is like utilize it. It's there for you. It's becoming, more democratized than ever. It just has to take your intelligence in terms of what is essential to this film. What is essential to this scene? What is essential to this shot? Because, 9 times out of 10, and this is something that I feel like more independent films should do, more micro-budget films should do, and they look great when they do it. Find ways to block and stage your scenes where you can reframe without cut. Where it's basically like, do the classic, actor comes into the foreground and suddenly you're working on a diagonal. Like a diagonal 2 shots, very strong. And then maybe, slowly pan your camera over until you've got a close-up. Have somebody pass in the background, and then suddenly you're doing it over the shoulder. Reframe without cut, because it's like every time that you're cutting, you're doing another setup, you're doing another lighting scheme. But the audience will appreciate the fluidity of it, because that is basically old school film. That's old school Hollywood. That is sort of desperately needed in many ways. As much as digital has allowed so many new kind of tricks and so many new aesthetics, learn the old ones too. They will always act as a balance. Yeah. They will always act as a time saver, and they will make your films look so much better. They'll make them look so much more interesting. So there's definitely that. I would also say when working with your cinematographer, one of the things that Neil does that I think is absolutely genius is we always light every scene in total. So we basically come in, I do the blocking with the actors, and I walk them through what the entire scene will be in a location. And in doing so, Neil comes in and he lights everything in terms of where all of the angles will ultimately be. And so that might take a little bit longer at the start of your day. That might be like 2 more hours, but then you make it up on the back end because
saves you down the road when you're not having to reset. And
you only have like a couple of keys that you have to do. Like that's, we wouldn't have been able to get through all of the material in the shed in Bittertooth if we didn't do it that way.
Probably keeps your cast a little more engaged too, so that they're not having to stop and wait and stop and wait and stop and wait.
Yep.
You can get them in and out a little quicker.
Yeah, and when looking at when working with, by the way, when working with actors, all right, having name talent or talent that has been in the game a long time is phenomenal, because it's like the actors that I've been privileged enough to work with, and we'll talk a little bit about them. They're amazing because they've been working at it for 40 years and they have, 30, 40 years, they have like 100 some credits. Yep. They come in, they have it on lock. They know exactly what to do. But here's the thing, they don't have to be a big name to be locked in it as well. When looking at the resumes, when doing your tapes, when doing your auditions, pay attention to actors who have done theater. Pay attention to actors who have perhaps dance experience or stunt training. Or even like improvisational comedy, like Justin Michael Terry. He has a massive improv background. And I actually know him from college. We've known each other for like 20 years. Wow. 20 years. We went to acting school together. And, you could just tell, like he was the guy.
Yeah. I mean, I really love Joe Altieri.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is the only one on both of those films, on Bittertooth and Blood Covered Chocolate, that doesn't even have a headshot on IMDb. I mean, the guy is just an unknown name, but he is a powerhouse when you watch him on camera. I really dug both of his characters.
Yes.
So kudos to you for casting him and getting someone that, again, I mean, he could care less about his IMDb.
Yeah.
As long as you leave, he gets his space with his dogs and he can live life. He's happy as a clam. So,
well, I adore Joe. I love him to death because again, this is another thing that you'll counter doing indie film. But like the first day that I ever met Joe in person was the first day that he filmed for Blood Covered Chocolate. It was basically like, show up. Hi there. Nice to meet you. Here's your mark. And the thing is, like, he approaches his work like Tom Petty. Like he's, basically this kind of been there, seen it all. He's a vet. And so he, like a veteran. And so he basically has many stories to tell.
Yep.
He has been through a lot. He's a no bullshit guy. So because of that, he's a fantastic actor. He's also a fantastic musician. You can see a little bit of that in Bittertooth. He's so good at just being himself, that he's interesting to look at. And that's the other thing, is that when you're casting, it's like your instinct is to always go for like ingenue and character actor, which is a good one. But like going back to Ian Van Gool for a second, one of the things that was very, impressive to him with Bittertooth was casting Autumn, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you don't see enough of somebody who has tattoos and everything of that nature. And
someone that looks like him. Like he really resonated with the look of Autumn because he's fully tatted up as well.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, for her, one, Autumn is just a fantastic actor. And what's interesting is that when I was writing Bittertooth, I was aware of Autumn because of originally just seeing her social media and the bodybuilding and her, sort of body journey.
Yep.
And what's
crazy strong.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she's a bodybuilder. Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting is that when we were shooting Bittertooth, this is another thing about making independent film. It's like we put her in the spare room of our house, right? And it was one of those things where, we'd have like a couple of days off from filming and she would just go get an entire pizza and just like share it with me. And she, would always get the best food. And that was great. But it was one of those things where I had originally saw her on social media and then just decided to take the approach, just going, on I think X or whatever it was, and saying big admirer of your work. And I remember what I actually did. I was in the middle of doing a table read for another script that didn't end up getting made, at least not yet. And I was basically like, would you be interested in reading, doing this Zoom reading of literally a one scene part. And she's like, yeah, cool, let's do it. So she came and she read that one scene. And from just her reading of a handful of lines from one scene, I was like, I want to work with this person and I want this person to be the lead. So when, as an actor, you get those opportunities, don't shrug them off. Don't shrug them off, because you never know. You never know
what's
what
going to happen again.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so
you also never know what it could lead to as well.
Exactly. And I mean, Autumn, there was nobody else that could do that part in Bittertooth, because I knew I needed somebody that could be believable in the soft, vulnerable scenes.
Yes.
And believable for that ending. Could you have believed anybody else in that ending? You know what I mean?
She was a perfect cast for it. 100%. Yeah. No, you found the right person, and it makes me want to talk more about Bittertooth, but I feel like we should hold off on that.
Sure.
And again, we talked a little bit about in James's episode, so go check out the tracksuit episode is what I call it. Yes. But yeah,
it's a good one.
But I feel like we could definitely keep talking. I have a whole list of questions here that we didn't even get to.
Yeah.
Just because it's really fascinating hearing you talk. And like, if you haven't noticed, I've been very quiet.
Yeah.
Which I'm normally not this quiet during episodes. I'm just like, it's fascinating hearing you talk about film and how you're making your content, and just, we could make this a very long episode.
We could.
I think we should just have you back. And, but for the sake of time, let's go ahead and take a quick break here. Okay. But before we do, if you want to let everyone listening, if you want to shoot right down the barrel and just let people know where can we find you?
Yeah.
Where can we find your work? And if you have a website or whatever.
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram. That's primarily where I'm on. I'm also on X. I think in both cases it's like at Monte Light, at Monte_Light maybe. Filmmaker. That's me. And right now, actually, I'm in the middle of an Indiegogo for my next film, which is very, very fun horror.
Is that Unit 666?
Unit 666, Midnight in the Black Ambulance. It's about a team of first responders who answer very unique emergency calls in a world where all magic and supernatural monsters are real. And every little bit helps, because we're going to make this film. And not only that, but we have a really kick-ass idea of how to take all of those resources and make a proof of concept short film. So, if we don't get to that one milestone, it doesn't mean that, that's the power of Indiegogo. It doesn't mean that it can't be something, because it will be something. Again, talking about my ambition and everything.
Yep.
It's going to be something amazing. And you know how the game is played. It's like it's kind of like with Saw, right? It's like the original Saw was a short film first. And, you take it to the festivals, it gets seen, gets the proof of concept, people get excited about it.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of really fun, for the contributions, there's a lot of really, really fun perks that you can get with it too. Anyway, so definitely go check it out. Instagram, X, and I use Facebook too, but not as much.
And he's on TikTok because of us. Look at that.
That's right. I'm on TikTok. I need to grow my friends. I need to have friends on TikTok.
Need more followers.
That's right.
So, but thanks again for sharing us a little bit about you. Go support Monte. Go check out his work. Obviously, we have two of his films on Momi 2, Bittertooth, and then obviously what we're going to talk about a little bit later in the episode, Blood Covered Chocolate. But let's go and take a quick little break, and we'll be right back with this or that.
Promoting your podcast is hard, and that's why each week we shine a light on one you might not have discovered yet. This week's pick, the Gutted Horror Podcast. If you're a fan of all things terrifying, twisted, and totally unforgettable, this one's for you. Gutted Horror dives deep into the guts, literally and figuratively, of the horror genre, breaking down films, exploring subgenres, and tackling what makes horror stick with us long after the credits roll. With sharp commentary, killer guests, and a love for the spooky stuff, it's a must-listen for die-hard horror fans, and curious newcomers alike. So, if you're ready to get gutted, in the best way, check out the Gutted Horror Podcast, wherever you get your streams. Now, let's get back to our pod.
All right, and we're back here with Mr. Monte Light.
Yes.
And we're going to play a fun little game.
Okay.
Only if you're willing. Do you want to play this or that?
Sure.
Let's play
Let's
this
do
or
it,
that.
yeah.
And this or that is brought to you by our friends over at Coastline Travel. So if you're looking to go anywhere in the world, booking a flight, hotel,
Nice.
excursion, rental car, whatever it is, you name
Ooh.
it, they'll make it happen. Go to coastlinetravel.com and they will get you there.
Love it.
Cool. Monty, I have 20 questions here. If you haven't, I know you've seen some of our episodes
I
because
have.
you're an avid follower. I appreciate it. We asked 20 questions. First question we ask everyone, tacos or pizza?
Tacos.
Tacos. You got a taco guy. All right. Hand soap or hand sanitizer?
Hand soap.
Hand soap. Yeah. Some people out there just using hand sanitizer. Come on. Wash your hands.
Yeah.
Lead with your heart or lead with logic?
Lead with your heart.
You're a hard guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That reminds me of Chit. You ever seen Chit?
Chit?
Yeah.
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 So good. Festival buzz or cult following?
Cult following. Yeah.
Cult followings are fun.
They are. I mean, that's actually like how everything becomes a classic, really.
Yeah.
Is it people are loyal to it, you know.
100%. Pre-production planning or post-production problem solving?
Well, pre-production planning.
Yeah. Sounds like it with your... I
Absolutely.
love that story.
You're going to have to post-production problem solve anyway. So make it easy
True.
on yourself.
Very random question, but evil chickens or killer ducks?
Ooh, killer ducks. Killer ducks would be so interesting.
Okay, so I came up with a movie idea,
Okay.
and I don't care if someone steals it.
Okay.
Totally fine. I made up this film for a marketing masterclass with our film festival.
Yeah.
So the students that got into the film festival, we did 4 masterclasses for them. One on marketing, one on filmmaking, one on film festival strategies, one on distribution.
Nice.
Teaching them a lot of things that they more than likely did not learn in school.
Right.
With the marketing, I was like, how can I get their attention and how can I actually like relate to them? So I created a film, and it's called "Don't Mess with the Ducks." Don't feed the ducks. Don't feed the ducks. I went through so many different name titles, but don't feed the ducks. And so how it goes is that "Don't Feed the Ducks" is about this small town who has this like lake, and there's ducks there, and the people that live there know not to feed the ducks. There's a
Right.
sign. There's a single sign that says "Don't feed the ducks." Well, the tourists come, and they feed the ducks. And so at nighttime, the ducks, or like maybe this like one mega duck, comes out at nighttime and kills the person. And so like there's like the vantage point of the camera where it's like the duck vantage point from the ground.
yeah. Yeah,
and like
yeah.
coming out and like biting your neck.
Like the
whatever,
Evil Dead
blood
ducks.
coming out. Yeah. And so yeah, don't feed the ducks.
I got your poster for it. A cracked egg with an eyeball in it.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I made one on ChatGPT and it was kind of a cool poster. I'll show it to you later.
I love it.
Yeah. It's like a like rabid duck with teeth and has blood coming out the mouth and stuff. It's pretty fun.
There you go. There you go.
Psych thriller or slow burn horror?
Oh, psych thriller. Yeah. Slow burn horrors. If they don't lead anywhere, you're like, why did we do that?
I'm with that. Okay. Teach your younger self or learn from your older self?
I would say probably learn from your older self because the past is prolonged.
Okay.
So
I like that answer. That's
Yeah.
good. Fear of failure or fear of wasting potential?
as in, which do you not want?
You can take it either you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, fear of wasted potential. Like, just try it, man. Yeah, don't be afraid of failure.
Love it.
Don't even care about it.
Yep. Direct a scene on a roller coaster or underwater with dolphins.
I would do underwater with dolphins.
Be fun.
Oh yeah.
You ever done any underwater shoots?
No.
So
No.
let's do it.
No, that would be. God, I can only imagine how much underwater cameras cost. But yeah, that would be fun.
Let's go to Cabo, film a movie. Like let's make a movie.
There you go.
Write a movie in one night or shoot one in a single day.
I would say write one in one night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot one in a single day. That's a lot.
Yeah, you need perfectionism when it comes to making it.
Yeah. Critics praise or audience love.
Audience love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the cult following.
Yeah, exactly.
Storyboard every shot or improvise on set, which we already know the answer to.
Yeah, there you
So,
go.
Throw that around. Should have you sign that one. Film your dreams. So film your actual dreams, or live in your favorite movie.
I think I'd probably want to live in my favorite movie because it would just seem simpler.
And what is your favorite movie of all time?
Oh God.
Do you have one?
Do I have one? I mean, my favorite horror film of all time is Suspiria. I don't know if I'd want to live in that though. You know what? If there's any film that I'd want to live in, I would probably want to live in The Frighteners. Peter Jackson's film with Michael J. Fox.
I did not see that.
Yeah. Because it's like those ghosts are super like cool. Yeah. And until death shows up, it's a pretty nice time. You get to be in the like New Zealand version of America, and it's really pretty.
Cool. All right. I like that. I need to go check that movie out now.
Yeah, it's a great film.
Take a break or push through it?
Push through it.
All right, let's push through it. Fight a clown or direct one?
I would probably want to fight a clown. I mean, clowns are sort of annoying.
Yeah.
Not scary. I know some people are scared of clowns, but they're just like fucking annoying.
Yeah. Grainy 16 millimeter aesthetic or 4K digital sleekness?
4K digital sleekness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all about the clear.
That's the editor in me. You can do way more with it.
I respect that. Probably make it look like a 16 millimeter. Look at that.
Yeah, you can do stuff like that, man.
All the technology now. Directing or screenwriting?
Directing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Win at Tribeca or win at Sundance?
Sundance, I guess.
Flip of a coin.
I don't know, man.
All right, and last one, I got to read this. A lot of words on here. Make the film of your dreams that no one sees, or make a film you hate that wins an Oscar. So make the film of your dreams, like you're just, this is my passion project. No one's ever going to see it though, but you get to make it.
Right.
So it lives in your world. Or make a film you hate because whatever, you sold out.
Right.
That wins an Oscar.
I would probably rather make a movie that I hate if it goes to Comic-Con. Much better than the Oscars.
I respect that.
Yeah.
All right. That was this or that. Thanks for playing.
That was fun.
And all the cards are just everywhere.
Right over there.
And let's go make a killer duck movie.
That's right.
That was great.
Quack attack.
But thank you to Coastline Travel for bringing this
Yeah. Go travel.
little segment to everyone. Go travel. Go make a movie. Go film underwater with dolphins in Cabo. Have fun.
That's right. It's a wide world out there.
We'll take a quick little break and we'll be right back.
Being a small business is difficult, and that's why each week we showcase a different small business we think you'll enjoy. And this week, we're spotlighting a small business that's brewing up something spooktacular. Horror Vibes Coffee. Based in North Hollywood, Horror Vibes Coffee is the perfect blend of caffeine and creepy. It's a horror-themed cafe that's become a favorite haunt for horror fans, latte lovers, and anyone who thinks every day should feel a little like Halloween. From drinks like the Frankenstein's latte to walls lined with horror movie art, this place is a full-on experience. But you don't have to be in LA to get in on the vibe. You can grab their killer merch online. They've got tees, mugs, totes, and more to bring the spooky energy straight to your doorstep. Shop now at www.horrorvibes.com and support a small business that's keeping things creepy and creative, one cup at a time. And with that, let's get back to the pod.
We are back here with Mr. Monte Light. And Monte, this part of the podcast, we typically ask our guests to go on a Momi to find a movie, the over 10,000 films that we have, or 10,000 titles, films and series, and pick a movie that we could do a spoiler-free review on.
Yeah.
And you, being completely narcissistic, chose your own. No, we were going to do, we talked about doing Bittertooth before, but then James was selfish and chose it.
Took it away. Yeah.
That darn tracksuit. And so, you know, I'm actually happy about that because then we got to watch a film that I had not seen.
Yeah.
I'd seen some other people, like we mentioned, Ian earlier, talk about it and have you on it.
He dug it.
He was really into it. I was like, you know what? Let's go and do this. I'm happy to. We watched Blood Covered Chocolate. What a name.
Blood Covered Chocolate.
And if you haven't seen it, we're going to go and roll the trailer right now.
Happy second birthday to you.
Sounds like something out of Alice in Wonderland. The day you were born and the day you got clean.
Here's the newborn.
You know, your blood is as good as gold to me.
Could give you the long story. That we've always been here. That we're Legion. We suck the blood of all thy race, but you know that. You've got Twitter.
Sweet like midnight rain brings you back again. Sweet like honey flowing. Sweet like blood and chocolate.
So, Blood Covered Chocolate. What inspired you to make this film?
Yeah. So I basically was coming out of 2019 was when I started my sobriety journey. So, I'm an alcoholic and I've been sober for, I think, 6 years now.
Congrats.
Thank you. And when I was first taking that journey, it was one of those things where I was like, well, I need to channel things that I've been going through, things that I'm dealing with, the nature of addiction. And it was one of those things where I knew that the obvious metaphor for addiction is vampirism. It's one of those things where it just keeps eating at you, sucking at you until nothing's left. And I was like, okay, that's an interesting theme to go with. And it was my second film. So I was coming off of my first film, Space, which, was a science fiction, found footage, very different kind of beast and animal. And I was basically like, I don't want to repeat myself. I want to go in a completely different direction. And I knew that I had to make something that was very much a personal statement. And so that's where that came from. And then once I hit upon, wanting to make a vampire film, I was asking myself basically, okay, what is it that we have seen? What is it that we haven't seen in a very, very, very old genre? And one of my favorite horror films of all time is F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu. And I had been toying for a long time with how to translate taking inspiration from the aesthetic of the original Nosferatu. And the thing that's interesting about Nosferatu when you watch it is that it obviously has the different tints to it. Mm-hmm. It has the blue that's indicative of nighttime. It has the red that is indicative of the vampire. And I was like, it would be so interesting to take that and transport it into a digital mixed media sort of surrealist nightmare. And that's where the aesthetic came from.
I picked up on the Nosferatu touches there.
It's pretty obvious, isn't it?
It was obvious, but also you did it in a subtle way, even just take away from the coloring, right? Mm-hmm. Take away from the I don't know if you want to say cinephile watching it, or even from a filmmaker watching it that just knows film history. Yeah. Just take someone that doesn't.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? Or maybe they've seen Nosferatu, right? there were definitely tones of it, even just within the characters. So I definitely saw that more aspects than just the coloring, right?
Yeah.
So no, I that was one of my notes here. It was just like, yeah, Nosferatu touches. Where'd you get that? What was the inspiration for that? And so,
Yeah.
I guess I was dead on. So that's cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely dead on. Absolutely.
The other thing that I had touched on was, kind of knowing the themes that you were exploring, right? And obviously a lot of that I noticed with the metaphor to addiction. I can see that, but you didn't just. I mean, so if you're an alcoholic at the time, you went way further into the addiction realm. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the thing is that like it's it's there in the nature of the title.
Yeah.
It's meant to be evocative of the irony of it.
Yeah.
Of what addiction is.
Yeah.
It is a sweet treat. It is chocolate on your mouth. But it is covered in your blood. It's covered in everything that's being sucked out of you.
Yeah.
And I think early on, I realized that even though I am an alcoholic, I didn't want to make the film about an alcoholic. I wanted to make it about a drug addict, and specifically a heroin user, because and I mean that's the other. I almost forgot the other George A. Romero film that I absolutely adore is Martin, and Martin has some of those overtones as well. And so it's one of those things that it's like there is a kinship between the fangs and the needle. And that sort of puncturing and willingly giving your blood to something that just wants to take and take and take. It just seemed the obvious choice. When you're talking about addiction, you're talking about the other things that are implied there in the film.
There's multiple addictions.
Yeah. I mean,
And again, I'm trying to like.
Of course,
Say
to not spoil much,
Yeah.
but I think
I want people to go watch this. It was just a very
absolutely.
unique watch.
Yeah.
And I literally watched it last night.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure it was super fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
And what a crazy way to end a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
By watching Blood Covered Chocolate. I
Yeah.
mean, it was a wild ride. It was a lot of fun, and I there were just so many pieces. Like I definitely want to go back and watch it again. Because there were just so many pieces that I was just like, I don't know if I fully appreciated it with the first watch.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I go back and see it, like even just with the intermingling of all the characters, like or the character changing, like the female changing.
Oh yeah.
From being the mother to the girlfriend to and I mean the whole obviously the end just totally wraps everything up, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's genius. But I didn't want to like. Again, it's something I want to talk about, but I'm going to leave it blank there. But how did you walk the line between like the horror aspect of it, and then also like the realism?
Early on, I realized that the other side of addiction is the feeling of being a failure, and the people that feeling like a failure in front of or feeling like a failure to, that is the one that cuts the deepest, are your loved ones, your mother, your father, your family, your girlfriend or your wife. And so I knew very early on that I was like, okay, so this is basically a familial drama. But I couldn't leave it at that. At some point, early on in writing it and just sort of visualizing it, I realized I was like, what's interesting is that it's like this guy becomes, a vampire. That's not really a spoiler. That happens very early on.
No.
Yeah. It's like a
lot of different types of teeth that you chose to use. Too.
Yeah. Well, and also like wanting to integrate into the film different kinds of vampiric monsters that we don't see a lot in Western film. There's that too. But it was one of those things where I was like, I kept thinking of Hamlet, where I was like, okay, Hamlet is basically a story about a guy who's told by his dead father that he has to go and seek revenge. And then he spends the whole story not doing that. And so it's basically like, what if a guy was faced with the fact that it's like, you're a vampire. Your whole life is over. Your whole family life is over. And he just doesn't want to do it. So it's like, he's a vampire who doesn't want to feed, who doesn't want to bite, who doesn't want to hurt the people that are closest to him. But the addiction, the pull, it just keeps pulling at him. And to my mind, I was like, okay, if we're getting into a world of addiction and drug use and familial secrets and all of that kind of quagmire, I'm like, I'm also making a crime film here. And so that's where the other aspect of it came, the other side of it. And I thought that it was very interesting too, as well, because, traditionally, especially in the last, like, let's say 30 years of vampire fiction, there's something very seductive about it. I don't necessarily agree with that assessment of the vampire, but it's viable. I mean, Interview with the Vampire is one of my all-time favorite novels. And what's interesting about that is that it's also about a family being born out of monsters, essentially, who live forever and are destined to be lonely. And there's something very vulnerable about wanting to be a family. And then I thought that that would be very interesting to contrast with the toughs in Blood Covered Chocolate, who are kind of like small-time mafiosos who want to do nothing but break you, you know, who are big, muscle, and strong. But then nothing is stronger than a vampire. And I thought that, you got some interesting conflict there. That's kind of where the violence and the horror came from.
Yeah, I like the choice of using sunscreen. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Just like how you get a vampire out in the sun. Like, here's some sunscreen.
Yeah, a little bit of the dark humor
I thought
there.
that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you two questions just because they could be the same answer,
Okay.
but maybe they're not. So, but I'd rather ask both, and then you can knock them both out of the park.
Sure.
What were you most proud of with this film? And also, what was the hardest scene to shoot?
Okay.
Which again could be the same answer,
the same
or
answer.
maybe it's not.
I think the thing that I'm most proud of with the film, it has to be everybody that was involved with it. And the reason that I specifically say that is that it's got a great cast.
Yeah, we see some familiar faces with
We do.
Bittertooth, and
We do. And then a couple of other ones like Christine Nguyen. I mean, she's been in films forever. And she was very excited about making this film because it was a very different part for her to do, which she doesn't usually get to do. You know, she does like Fred Olen Ray films and everything. This was a little different for her. Mm-hmm. Deborah Lamb and all of that. They're all fantastic in the film, in front of the camera. But I think the thing that will stay with me that I think is incredibly impressive is that we made that movie with a crew of 4, including me.
wow.
Yeah. We had one day where we did our monster effects, where we had our 2 makeup artists come and work. But other than that, it was me, it was the cinematographer, it was our sound guy, who was also our assistant camera, who was also our drone operator, et cetera, Neil, Greg, and then a production assistant who would also sub in, gaffer, grip, do everything else, Kurt Skelton. Those 3 guys and me, we made that entire film.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah. And then, when you actually see the film and you see all of that camera work, I mean, Neil won an award for his work there, well deserved. And I also did get an award for directing, which was a tremendous honor.
Where did you get those awards for?
That was from the Culver City Film Festival and the Silver State Film Festival.
Yeah.
And then Deborah Lamb won Best Actress from Shockfest, which
Very cool.
is very cool because her character didn't even have a name in the original script. She basically built that performance. That's how good she is. Mm-hmm. And, you can see it with her character. She doesn't appear in it a lot, but she makes an impression. That's all her. And I think the scene that was the hardest to do, but it was also the most rewarding because it's 100% logistical, was the continuous shot scene, which is, spoilers, not a true continuous shot. There are cuts in it.
Yeah.
Some of them you can see, some of them are hidden. And it was fascinating to try to figure all that out because we shot in that apartment. That was my apartment.
Oh, it was.
Yeah. So we shot for
Typical indie filmmaker.
Exactly. I'm like, I got to make my freaking apartment film.
Got to use what you have.
Yeah, exactly.
Location is everything. We talked about that with Dan Mervish's episode, and he was talking about he had a friend during COVID who inherited a motel.
Oh.
And it had to happen to have some like older feels to it. And he was just like, hey, if you got a motel and you don't have to pay for it, make a movie.
Yeah.
Like you got a location, make a movie.
Exactly. And this was actually also a COVID film, which was an interesting challenge there. But like in that continuous shot, I mean, Ellen Udy is in the film. She's in that scene, along with Michael Klug, who's the lead. And, you know, we would go for like 2-3 minutes on some of those, and they'd have like 10 marks. And they would just knock it out of the park. I mean, which is just incredible.
I mean, it helps when you have someone like Helen who's just a vet, like in the biz, and just like, hey, I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. It's like, you know, she goes all the way back to My Bloody Valentine and Dead Zone and everything. But what's interesting, like one moment in there that I think was difficult, but it was also like such a cool thing because it was an in-camera trick, is there's a part where the camera pans over and racks to Ellen's reflection in a picture frame in the glass, right? And then Massimo walks past the camera, and then she starts to interact with him, but he's casting no reflection because he's a vampire, right?
Yeah.
That is all Ellen miming. When the eye line. Literally, Michael just stood off camera, like said the lines, and then when she switched her eye line, he walked back in the camera. That was it. It was like, it was literally just her acting that sold that.
It's one of my favorite things about filmmakers when they do like this. This is
I know, right? Yeah,
everyone does this.
Everybody does it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
this was my dad's thing. Always like that.
Yeah.
All the time. He's like, we'd be anywhere, family vacation, and be like, oh, this is a cool shot. This is a cool shot.
Yeah, the thing that I like to do sometimes, and my wife is always just like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This is the person." I'm like trying to think through, like literally like looking at a shot.
Yeah,
like
Jacqueline from our first episode, I remember she was talking about the oneer that happened with the Policeman's Lineage. It was like a Korean film that she chose, and she was like, you could see the director like this, and then like they flipped it and like went up to the building, and I was like, "Are you Spider-Man?" Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's fun. It's fun to watch filmmakers do what they do. It's just cool.
Just
like,
get into it and kind of remembering those moments. And yeah, super cool. And I mean, probably the other hard scene was the dance scene, the when the camera was spinning and everything. We got a special rig for that, and it didn't work. It like is the only time that like Neil, the cinematographer, he started to go like, because he's from New Jersey, so he started to go Jersey on it. He was just like going over there and fucking cursing at it and everything.
Fuck was having every other word. And
yeah, exactly. And I'm just
I'm not mad. I'm just talking.
Right,
it's fine.
I was like, we'll leave him to it. And it's funny too, because it's like they were dancing obviously to nothing, and we were spinning the camera, and we just, in order to cut that, we had to do 75 different like cuts, like takes, basically, just like take after take after take of just like doing it, because I'm going to cut it together to give this feeling. And they were very patient with me, asking them to, do that.
Can I get a smoke break? This is
they're just like,
a lot.
Because sometimes it's one of those things that it's like, as much as you storyboard it and you tell the actors what you're going to do, they just have to trust you. And they're like, I have no idea what this is, And then obviously when they finally see it
on
like,
screen, they're like, oh,
cool. Yeah, exactly.
I see your vision.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awesome.
So, those were the hard ones.
For your next film, Unit 666.
Yes.
Any other familiar faces are going to be planned for that?
Yeah, Deborah Lamb is going to be in it. Love working with her. She's going to play another like queen bitch kind of character. She's fantastic at it. So that's going to be a reunion from Blood Covered Chocolate. And then Autumn Ivy is going to be in it, and that's a reunion from Bittertooth.
Great.
She's going to play several roles, actually. All of them villainous.
Cool.
So, I'm very excited. It's good. It's going to be a great film. Bigger
awesome.
than anything we've done before. So
that's great. Well, Blood Covered Chocolate, big fan of you. Just
thank you
as a filmmaker, but also as a person. You're just a genuine person. Very hard to find. A lot of people like you. But if you are wanting to learn more about Monte Light, make sure you go. Well, first of all, you're here at the end of the episode, so you must like him for some reason, or you're just a glutton for punishment.
Right.
But at the same time, go check out Monte's work on Momi too. You got Bittertooth, Blood Covered Chocolate, and if you can, go support his Indiegogo to support his next film, Unit 666. Cannot wait to see it. Monty, thanks again for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Little COVID fist bump. Let's
That's
go.
right. A little elbow.
Awesome. And then we'll definitely have you back on, especially as we get closer with the next film.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, until next time. Thanks for spending your time with us today on the More For Me and You podcast. If you've made it to the end, we appreciate you. Now, go do us a quick favor. Please like, comment, and share this episode. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode with the incredible guests we have coming up. You can also follow us at Momi2 Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. Oh, and for your next movie night, check out the Momi2 app. It's free and packed with amazing movies and shows you've probably never seen. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you in the pod.